CJ won't be here. Andrus is calling in late. So who am I forgetting? I think this is everybody, right? Bruce is there. Can you hear us, Bruce?
Yep.
Oh, good. You're there. All right. Richard, we got him. Ron, Dylan, and Neil. All right. I think that's everybody.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Do you want to start with the list? Do you want to go down that list that Andres had? I'm on my iPad, so I can't really switch screens and go through that. So I actually you printed it out. The first one was the prioritizing of the projects. Did anyone get a chance to look at that at all?
I did not.
Okay. Anybody else?
All right, so let me write that down.
Mm-hmm.
Now, this is in relation to
The list that we have here in the Excel sheet that he put together, all the projects on our list, just kind of coming up with a prioritization. I mean, maybe we don't have to prioritize. I think we could look a little deeper, but I think as we look through those projects, I think we'll see everyone has their own little project and they're moving in their own direction. So.
Yeah, I mean, I'm mostly concerned, I think, with what ultimately the town wants to push. So, the trail out to the jug handle, the actual crossing itself.
Yep.
Those are the big capital intensive things.
Mm-hmm.
So,
agreed.
So, certainly that's what I would be focusing on.
Okay. All right. 1.1, we have the grants. Last meeting, so small here trying to read this, but we were talking about all the different grants that will be coming out for this year. Has there been any kind of announcements, Bruce?
No announcements.
No announcements as of yet. So we're still waiting. Pins and needles.
Yep. There was a bond commission meeting on May 26th. It had no bike ped stuff in it.
Okay. All right.
Next one's scheduled for third week of this month, which means they would have to announce it in the next few days.
Okay.
So, and as soon as I see a published agenda with something on it, I'll make sure you guys know.
Great. That's awesome.
Yeah.
All right. DOT jug handle. All right. I know that Richard was working with Mike D'Amico on this. He had some emails going back and forth. Have you heard anything else? Or is it Rich? Did you hear anything else? Oh, go ahead. No problem.
I haven't heard anything from Mike. I did reach out to Bob Bell of the DOT earlier this week to see if he had any update, because that was my immediate goal was to get it on their radar. So it was, but I didn't get anything back from him. Response back.
Okay.
I did. I was talking to him about something else, but did also, and I will nudge him from time to time, because our paths cross amongst other people at DOT. So we both sit on. Actually, we're not formally on, but we both go to the Bike Ped Advisory Board meetings, which are always last last Friday of the month. So and he sits in on my meetings for the Connecticut Greenways Council. So I do keep in contact with him, and we'll continue to, obviously.
Okay. And with regards to our project that we've been working on for the bike pack through there, we haven't heard anything, and we're pretty much waiting for the grants at that point before we could move ahead with anything for the engineering on the engineering side. Drake handle. Wait for grants. Okay. DOT projects, monthly projects, create projects. We talked about that. Community connective, single page pitch, the preliminary design, side path along Route 4 by Mountain Spring, have line on map schematic. We talked about that. Get the camera on Route 4 jug handle intersection signalization. Check with DOT, and that's going to be with the signal, the re-signalizing of that intersection when we do the jug handle project. Nothing during plow season, needs to get a project. Jug handle path to Wolf Pit. We talked about that a little bit. And Bruce Donald spoke with VHB. They're interested. BC will discuss with BD and Russ A offline to determine next steps. So we talked about that. That's just getting us for the grants. Grants for preliminary design.
I
Next
have a
one.
question.
Good. Yeah, go ahead.
So Neil and I were talking, dragging Neil into this too. We we had spoken a while back about, well, we had brought it up about the flats and that sidewalk that's there and why it couldn't be widened.
You want it widened. Did we talk? I know we talked about the maintenance. Did we talk about widening that?
Yeah, to so it can be actually used instead of, for cyclists, kind of like a trail. Has
Yeah,
that
well,
ever been discussed? Go ahead, Neil, you can.
Yeah, because that would be the safest way to cross the flats and connect, from the trail, right? Or both trails would connect you into Farmington proper. So that, and that would be an alternative to Route 4 too, for a big portion of it.
Then you're connected to Main Street, Garden Street, boom, out to Naples.
Well, every inch is valuable farmland. All right. So let's see. How wide are we looking for? You think?
Bruce?
Well, it's 5.5 now, if I recall.
Okay.
It's slightly wider than normal sidewalk, which was kind of the reason why it was put down that way originally, was to be kind of a bike path.
Yep.
I mean, minimum AASHTO is 9 now. No one's doing 9. Everyone's doing 10. So that would really be the minimum width. And don't forget, this is not a resurfacing project. This would be a completely new
Definitely.
project, because among other things, that was done pretty quick and dirty, and in fact really isn't specified correctly to last very long. If you've been on it in the last couple of years, it's got a tremendous amount of frost heave, and it just never had the underlayment to make it, correct trail. So this in fact would be a trail capital project.
So hold on. Matt.
Yep.
Is that yours?
Yeah,
Is that your background?
yeah, that's me.
Someone's got some background. No, someone's got some background going on. We can't hear someone talk. Is there a TV in the background?
Might be. Can you mute that for a second? Better?
There we go. Yep.
Oh,
perfect.
sorry about that.
No
Hey, I
problem.
just put the mic on because actually the real solution to coming across the flats is not the bike path, it's the road. Add 3 feet to each side of that road. You're not really taking away the farmland, and you got enough room for cyclists to ride fairly safely. You can ride pretty safely on it because there's really no sight distance problems until you start to get up towards Main Street where it really gets narrow. But other than that, it's pretty good. I'll mute it so I don't mess up.
Bruce, I have a question for you.
Mhm.
Seems to me the last time that was painted, the town went to 11-foot lanes already.
I know that Matt Bloom was doing that. I remember he was first. He wasn't here that long when that actually got repaved, that whole thing down there.
I just have that kind of a memory about it.
Yeah,
But I bring it up because at the speed, at that speed, it's a 35 and 40, right?
Yeah,
Mhm.
40.
It needs an 11-foot travel lane on both sides. So
Mhm.
so you got, so 22 feet.
We've probably got 24, 26 there now.
Yeah, so that's really what the question is. The question is, could that be repainted? And would it do much? I guess that's the question.
All right, let me take a look. Let me measure that out. Dylan's
thinking-
online. He can give me a hand with that. We can take a look, measure it. And then I think it's going to come down to a couple things. One of them is, what are we going to do? I mean, the road, I want to say, is still decently paved. So I don't think they're going to want to add on some lanes at this point. That would probably be push that on to a longer and a larger project. Hold on, guys. Hold on 1 second. Hold on 1 second. Sorry about that. My neighbor's kid just come walking in asking me if I needed something.
Blame the neighbor.
Yeah. So anyways, the road, like I said, the road is still recently paved, so I don't see them adding on any lanes at this point without doing a full repaving. So I think it'll be probably one of two things. Either doing the road or waiting for the road that needs to be done again, or possibly looking at doing the bike path. Personally, I think the bike path is more of a safer route. I know that the bicyclists like the road and like to stay on the road, but I think as more of a multi-use, meaning families and kids and children being on the bike path may be a more safer route. Now, with that being said, I'm just running some quick numbers on here. You're probably talking about $100,000 to $200,000, because I'm assuming that's about 5,000 feet. So
It's a mile. It's definitely
Yeah.
a mile.
that's what I'm thinking. So probably I think it's going to be pretty pricey. So that will be a budget item, either a budget or a grant item. It's one of those two things. So
No, it might be a grant item.
yeah, and that's what I'm thinking. Let me
It's-
put
it's
this
a-
on the list.
it's a pretty good connector. I mean, certainly I think it has some possibilities for that.
Yeah.
If you really wanted to build that as, quote unquote, multi-use bike trail, that's I don't know, $800,000 or $900,000 project.
Mhm.
Start to finish.
And that's why I was running. I was running just some numbers, just some quick little paving numbers is all I was running. Keeping
Yeah.
it real simple, nothing fancy. Like I said, just paving a driveway at that point.
Yeah.
So
Well,
10
bituminous is already 20% more than it was last year.
exactly. Yeah, I haven't been. So 5,000 feet times 10 feet divided by our times two. Yeah, I mean that seems low. I'm coming up with like 100. Like I said, I'm thinking a strict paving job. You're probably talking about $200,000, probably.
Oh,
250,
at least that.
at least that exactly. And I'm just running some quick numbers. So I think that's
Yeah.
something we'll have to look at, and
It
maybe
does
we'll be,
it does need to be prepared too, and there's another thing there which I haven't talked about, which is that whole side verge has a serious drainage problem that needs to be addressed.
there's nothing to do. I mean, there's, as you guys know, there's very with it being in the floodway itself, there's very limited drainage as it is, and when it does rain, anytime it does rain, those outlets are down by the river and those are underwater. So it becomes an outlet type controlled design, which
Yeah.
means even during a 10-year storm, which or a 2-year storm, which can be an average storm, the drainage is not going to flow there. There's not many options at all. It's, as you guys know, the way that road works now. When it floods, they close it, the water comes down, we scrape the mud off, and off we go.
That's
we
right.
open it
Yeah,
back
well,
up.
we do that in a bunch of places now in the state.
Yeah, there's not a lot to do there.
It just is what it is. I mean, if you want to spend a lot of money, there are design specifications where you can raise it a foot or two and actually spend a little more money and put porous asphalt on the top.
Yeah, but the problem with that is going to be a bunch of problems. One of them is that's introducing fill in a
Correct.
floodway. So that's a no-no because to raise that 2 feet, we're going to definitely be over the amount of fill that you're allowed to put in a floodway. So you have to do a compensation for it. You know, if we're going to fill, we have to cut somewhere. And
Oh,
ultimately,
yeah.
and ultimately, like I said, you're talking pervious pavement. There's no place for it to be stored because the Pequabic River is the governing factor on that. You know, the Pequabic River or the Farmington River, as it comes up, it backs up the Pequabic, which actually floods that out. So really, pervious pavement is not, I don't think, is an option. It's one of those things. I think you put it in, and we just maintain it as it is. You know, shovel,
Yeah.
scrape off the mud, and then how many times does that happen? Once a year, maybe twice if it's a bad year. You know.
Yeah, I mean,
And I
3
think
weeks,
we get to
3 weeks in April.
and then we get to
Hey,
the point where, like, you know what? It is what it is. Is it worth it to spend to double or triple the cost for something that really we may not get any positive thing back from? So, but what I'll do is, let me do this. I know we talked in the past about the condition of the bike path, and I thought we just talked about paving it again. But I don't remember the widening. But I will definitely bring that up with Russ. We'll put it on the list, and like I said, that's going to have to be a budget item because of the large cost expenditure, and we can maybe consider that for a grant.
I think the other thing too is long-term, you want to widen that road. It's not a bad idea for the cyclists and for the traveling, but right, for the
Mhm.
temporary thing, the sidewalk is going to work for the runners and the casual cyclists.
Okay, we could add that.
Plus it connects Tungus Mead, which is another selling point.
Oh, no, it's a legitimate town connector for sure. Absolutely.
Part of our plan was once we get our signs in, that there will be future signs at like at Oak, pointing people down towards Farmington Center. Directing them down that way. So, all right. So I'll add that one on the list. We'll add that to go back and put that up on the project list. All right.
Thank you.
Okay. See, done. Just gotta get it done now. That's the hard part. Adding it on the list is easy.
This gets tougher as we go, though. No.
Yeah.
I think though, you guys should look at that not only as a good bike path, but there's a lot of people from Miss Porter's that use that for running. You could probably get a lot of political support for that.
Yeah, I don't think the support is the problem. I think definitely that would go a long way. I think
Okay.
the problem is going to be the funding. That's
Okay.
what that is every year. And but like I said, we could talk about that and look at doing that, and we'll have to go from there. Get Board of Ed a member on the committee. I haven't heard much from that. Has anybody?
No.
Jeff Loud just chimed in too. I got him in here. Okay. All right. Bike to school. I think we talked about that last meeting, right, Ron?
Yeah, we've had that. That was before the last meeting, right?
Yep. And I think you guys, you did both. Union School and West District, right?
Yep. Had
Yep.
my trusty helper Neil with me, both rides.
Okay. And
They
anything-
were great.
Anything planned for next season?
Hopefully, I would like to double to hopefully do 4 schools next year. But it all has to do with and for the listening audience out there, we just need more people on board, more people like us.
Okay.
To
Anyway,
join-
good.
I
join-
apologize, Ron, for not being there this year.
No, it's no problem. But to expand to 2 more schools, we would need more help.
Now, how's your committee doing? Anyway, they can. Have you had any luck getting people?
No, we haven't.
No.
We'll save that for later discussion.
Well, let me know. I mean, maybe we have our newsletter, so that goes out quarterly. So maybe there's something we could do over the winter, and remind me. We'll do something for the winter newsletter when everyone's inside looking for things to do. about
Yeah.
maybe putting together a planning committee, and maybe if you don't mind putting you as a contact or something, and that
No,
way
but-
see what we get out of it. Maybe there's parents out there that want to help just with this, you know, and they can help, and you could break it up into a bunch of, have like one big meeting, and then all the other schools can break up into sub committees, something like that. All right, let's plan on that. Remind me, and I'll put that in my calendar. So newsletter, request.
Yeah, I feel kind of bad because I kind of had to blow off West Woods. And I feel really bad about that.
Right. How about this? You want to write me a little paragraph? It doesn't have to be nothing big. It's very sweet because it depends on how much we get, how much room. It's like the newspaper. If we lose it on the editing floor, you know what I mean? But just let's just do something. Your group is looking for volunteers to help with your group, as well as looking forward to the bike to school, and looking for volunteers, and maybe go from there, and then we'll see what we get out of that. So,
Okay.
all right, and then I can take that, and when it comes up, and like I said, it's still early, but we'll put that in. Maybe I think they asked for requests somewhere around September or something like that. So I'll put that in my calendar, and I'll have that all set to go to actually dump in there. All right, and we'll see what that works. I mean, the best we can do is ask people to help. If they don't want to help, then unfortunately,
Kids,
it's the best we can do. Exactly, and that's why maybe just doing. And you know what? And maybe just explain something a little bit about it. What is bike to school? And if you give me a nice picture, I can put a nice picture in with the article. Of some kids with their helmets on, going to school. Okay. All right. Farmington PD, we're all set with that. We've got Jeff. Jeff is on. I saw him.
Hey, Jeff.
He's there.
By the way, Jeff, Farmington PD was just unbelievable for both of those events, the bike to school events. Just want to make sure everyone knows how much we appreciate it. It was great.
Yeah, they had fun.
Good.
Anything on the PD side you want to share, as long as we're on that?
Yeah, I don't really have anything at this point. Obviously, you guys probably have heard we're losing our chief, and so we'll see how that goes. He was a big cycling advocate, so.
I know we need
Yeah.
another bike-friendly chief.
Okay. Wayfinding signs. That's me. We have the low bidder. We're working with a few other things with them. So hopefully we got some good news coming down the road by the next meeting. All right.
I wanted to ask you, have they been able to specify the posts they're using?
Yes. Well, Unionville, I had actually presented that back some time ago. We're going to match the Unionville streetlight posts. Because
Oh,
they're
okay.
all going to be visible right in that area. We wanted it, and the Unionville Architectural Design Review Committee, as well as the Unionville Historic District, wanted us to keep in line with the actual streetlight posts out there. So we were out there last week meeting with the guy, trying to get placement for him and just trying to fine tune where they're going to go. So we were doing that. So we're hoping to get some things from them at the next few weeks on that. All right. Water fountain. That's still on hold, looking to try to find a cheaper fountain. And grant money as well. I think there was someone that said, who said there was grant money available? Who was that? Someone had mentioned that. I forgot at one of the meetings.
I didn't mention it during a meeting because it came out shortly after last
right.
month's meeting. But there's a new funding program through the Fed called the Safe Streets for All. Bruce, you might know about that.
Yep.
Well, through our meeting with Krog last month, Krog they're going to try and get more information from the Fed this month before their, what is it, June 20 something meeting. I forget the date off the top of my head, but we'll meet later on in June and we should have more information on the overall grant and how to best apply and how to best get the money. But right now, CROG is thinking that they're going to put a general action plan together for all of the towns, which saves us a lot of time and work putting one together ourselves. But it would only really be attractive to the town if the town's contribution is less than 50%.
Okay.
There was talk last month about the contributions being 50-50 and the minimal construction cost being somewhere in the millions. So it would be a good source of funding for the Route 4 connectivity through the jug handle possibly,
Okay.
but not for smaller things.
Yeah, I had dismissed it for something like this because
Yeah.
I think it's $1 million minimum, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a very high minimum and it's also a high, we believe it's a high contribution.
Acceptable, the contribution,
Yeah.
right?
I think it's stated to 50%, although it's not really 50% because you can bill back the town's hours. But it's still got to be like 30-70 probably, something
Yeah.
like that.
Is that the
It's
same-
very high. Yeah.
Is that the same as that SS4A grant?
Yeah.
Is that what that
yeah,
is?
The SS4A.
Because I have a seminar scheduled for next week on how to apply for those. So do
Yeah,
I
I
just
do
not?
too.
Okay,
Right.
yeah, those are
Okay.
useful too. You know, the other thing I thought about was private grants because it is a smaller amount of money. You know, that's right in the sweet spot for REI, for instance.
Mhm.
They give out
That's what it was, yeah.
They give out 5 to 10. Just so you're aware, the Connecticut Outdoor Recreation Association, which I'm an officer of, we just got 6 from them.
Did you have to apply for some or did you just ask?
Yeah, you got to apply, but it's a pretty basic. It's
Is it?
not like some fancy foundation thing. It's really a one pager.
Something online or something you have to talk to, you think?
I can't remember if it's online or not. I'll take a look.
All right.
I'll,
Yeah,
I'll let you.
I'll look online too. I'll look online. I just didn't know if you were familiar. Okay. Complete streets. Yep.
It's their great
Go ahead.
grants program. Yeah.
Okay. Complete streets. We have that on the list for this, hopefully for this fall. All right. Because we got a lot of projects. This thing is hot going on in planning and zoning with these late night meetings and stuff. And Bruce, I'll let you know. So you can help present. All right. Sidewalks.
Just give me a warning because I could be out every night.
The day before is all right, right? I'll
Yeah.
call you the night of, okay?
Yeah.
Add sidewalks to new council strategy. We talked about that. The grant and the connection grants, and we talked about that. And Dylan, do you have anything to report on that one? Remember we were talking about that a little bit, making the connections along the avenue.
Yeah, so I don't have much to say about the grants since we last talked, but I do know that we are trying to plan to for the next funding cycle get funding for a connection of all the sidewalks from along Route 4 from Unionville to downtown Farmington.
Okay.
Pretty much up to the jug handle or just short of that. And then getting past the jug handle is the real challenge still, but
And that's on us. That's the other part of the grant that we're working on. But I think you were talking about you're applying 23, 24 for construction 24, 25. Is that right?
Yeah, so the next funding cycle is supposed to be 24.
It's supposed to be first half of 24 is the last I heard.
Yeah,
Okay.
but the last CROG meeting, they were still playing with the idea, but they are thinking about opening one up for 23. Because they we have awarded, say, $170 million in projects over the life of CROG, and only 70 of that has been used thus far. So there's a lot of money just sitting there not being used. So they think if they can start funding more projects, that number will slowly close in on itself. But they were still thinking about it, and there's no final decision yet.
Well, that's good
Sounds like a-
news. You know,
Yeah.
among other things, that money can't sit around for too long. I think these days it's either 6 or 7 years, and the Fed starts asking
Yeah.
for it back,
That's the
which we really don't want.
no,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
'cause then you may not get it back, you know?
Yeah, and on average right now, I think CROG projects are taking up to, at the higher end, 3 years for the more complicated ones, from accepted projects that receive funding to start of construction. It's a long process, and a lot of it's eaten up by the process in that time that we have to use the money. So they're going to try and advance the funding to get more out there. But we'll see what happens.
Thank you for that.
Yep.
Porta potties, they're in. Haven't heard anything. Anybody? Yays, nays, bad news, good news?
No.
Nothing. Bike friendly designation, League of American Cyclists.
We're getting there. We're getting there. We'll have more to report next meeting.
Next meeting. All right. Like to hear that. Connectivity, we talked about Midpoint got approvals. Hope to start construction soon. We were meeting with the DOT on that. There's some grants that they have to do, but probably talking that would probably be a winter project. It'd be a late fall or an early spring project, right before the trail, like either like right after the trail technically season closes or right before the trail season starts. So, and that all depends, that as we have no pull on when this is done. This is strictly a private venture, so we just wait for them. But talking with them, that's what they're looking for as a schedule. Next page. Farmington Valley Trails, memorial sponsorships, benches, fixed station water fountain, picnic tables. What's that? What is that for? What do you write in there? You wrote lobster. We'll talk about the lobster ride, Farmington ride, September 10th, Granby ride, New Southwick ride in the state is on June 5th. That's over. And then membership, and then memorial sponsorships is what they're talking about for benches and stations, and the Avons must dismount signs were actually removed. Is there any update on the Farmington Valley Trails?
So Bruce, you saw that email back from Amy Watkins on the
Yes. Yep.
on the memorial. So let's just take a look at it. You know, it seems to me that, you know, Motor Lease would love to do something right next to Motor Lease, but if that doesn't work, that's fine with us.
Yeah. No, and again, I think we just want to make sure we actually spread them out, because I think Amy said there was only one, but now we went out there and there's actually 4. So we have a lot in that area already, you know? So I'm not sure who's putting them in, if you guys are putting them in or what, because I know that we worked on them, you know, we worked close with your group on getting those in. So there's 4 now, apparently.
See, I had no idea there was 4. It makes me wonder if they're putting them in themselves.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, exactly. I'm thinking they probably gave up on asking us, and they just were putting them in themselves. And then the other one they want to
asking
put in
for
is that Route
forgiveness.
4 bridge.
Yeah. Now that one, I think there is room for that.
No, they didn't ask for forgiveness. They just where?
Yeah.
Because I know I built that section. You have a 10-foot trail, and you've got 2-foot stone dust on either side, and some of that 2-foot stone dust is actually taken up with the post and rail fence.
Oh, you mean the verge? Yeah, there's no room to put, for much of that, there's no room to put anything.
No, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have to go north and head up
Yeah.
towards like Brickyard to put something in. So
Yeah.
I don't have a problem. Just because you guys are working with the donor, so wherever the donor wants it is kind of with us, but I know, like I said, I told Amy in that area, we just can't do it. It just, there's no room, you know? Someone will get
Alright.
killed with a bench in that area, with it being
If-
only two.
If,
know,
if we,
less
if we
than 2
set up
feet.
if we set up a time for a walk, do you want us to at least let you know about that?
Yeah, please do.
Oh, good.
And if
Okay.
I could be there, I definitely will be there, you know?
All right.
And,
Will
and
do.
if there's some way you can pin a point on a wayfinder point, we'll go from there. Okay.
Yeah, I'm just gonna have them,
Murals.
GPS
Go ahead.
pin all of those.
And just, I think you guys know, and that's why I said, I think Amy was probably doing it based on not really doing a field walk, just pointing it on a map and not knowing exactly where that is. And that's a concern. And like I said, I don't want to tell you guys where to put it, have a donor get back to you and say, no, I don't want it there. Let the donor and you guys work it out and then come back to us and say, hey, how's this spot look? You know, I looked at it, it looks good, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, we just want to,
The murals.
we want to measure twice and cut once, you know, these
Okay.
are $2,000 benches. So
Yep.
it's not like, you
Understood.
know, if we screw up, we really
Yep.
screw up. So,
No, understood. And like I said, yep. And like I was saying, you know, and like I said, I talked to Russ and they said, yeah, we'll go ahead. We'll put him in. We'll do the pad and we'll do all the prep work. He has no problem with that. All right. Murals, back to murals again. CJ's not here, so I don't know what the status is on those. Liability for the bike walk board. Ron,
Yeah,
anything on that?
no,
You there? Oh, yeah.
yeah, no.
Oh,
think
doesn't
I'm
sound good.
Yeah, I can't get the right people together at this point.
Mhm.
Just,
Meaning what? Like the
to
just
come up
getting
with,
the board together. You think your board's
yeah. Yes.
Roddy, what are you looking for? Are you looking for an event type thing or just for the board in general?
For the board in general, so we can hold our events.
Okay,
So we can be covered, so we can be under the umbrella of what they call, you know, Parks and Rec, whatever that's officially called now. They
okay.
need us to have our 503.
do you have a full board or do you need volunteers?
I need volunteers.
Again, you want to write me up something? I'll look at putting it in the newsletter. We just had a
So-
newsletter printed up. So
Yeah, so the audience that comes to Instagram, to our page, and to Bike Walk on Facebook, you would think that that would be the drawing point.
Mhm.
People I would draw from there, but no. There's a lot of like response and stuff for different topics. Just mention crosswalk and forget it. You get lots of people. So, but nobody wanting to come on board. So, you know, it's like that. I've found out through the years, if it's an organization where you're going to be coaching your kids or something, no problem. You get people.
Mhm.
But for this, for a lot of people, what is the payback? We're all special people here. But I know there's a lot more out there. We just need to pull them in.
mhm. All right. Any luck in talking with the other organizations around town? I mean, out of town, and how they do it, and how they are able to get people together.
Same problems. Canton, Simsbury, Avon, same problems. Yep.
Have it at the brewery. Free drinks for the first 10 that show up.
Yeah.
All right.
Uh,
Bike walk Farmington. The last year reported a few rides. I think those are all over. met with Jeff Porter? You need to. be
You
better
know
by
what
the
is
time.
coming up this weekend? I'm sorry. Is the, what is it, Bruce? The,
It's the member appreciation ride. I
Oh,
think.
that one. Yes, I saw that. Yep. Farmington Valley Trails Council.
Yep, Farmington Valley Trails Council.
And that's, when is that one?
That's Saturday.
yep. You can ride
Uh,
14 or 30 miles and then get some free food.
Yeah, there's a cookout afterward. It's actually a nice ride. And then Ride the State is almost all filled up. That's the Saturday, the 25th. That's the East Coast Greenways ride from New Haven to Southwick with a bus back to New Haven if you'd like. I think we have 123 signed up. We're capping it at 150.
And when is that one?
That's Saturday, the 25th.
Of June, right?
Yep.
25th. All right.
So,
Statewide ride.
so going back to the insurance and stuff, you know, I was just thinking today, how does a organization, or maybe it's not an organization, like, what is it, Farmington Bike Up? How, maybe Bruce, you know, how are they covered for their rides? Let's say I'm on their ride and I get hurt. Is it because it's not an official organization? It's just a Facebook page, right?
I don't know what they do themselves. You know, if it's just a meetup, literally a meetup, it's not an organization. If it's an organization, then there's ways to get around having an expensive umbrella policy. One of which is to have an LCI on the ride, and then you're able to get the League of American Bicyclists omnibus insurance. They still have to write a rider for it, but it's easy to get, and you know, so a lot of organizations do that. But I can tell you, the Farmington Valley Trails Council they went a couple of years ago to a $2 million umbrella, and it's not cheap. It's I could find it for you. I think it's $1,800 a year.
Yeah, I used to shop around for the mud hogs for our board insurance. and
Yeah.
it's not cheap.
Yeah, it keeps going up every year.
Yeah,
But everyone, you know, universally everyone kept $1 million, but now pretty much it's $2 million. I don't know. Court inflation. I don't know.
yeah. All right.
Next thing is the pump track. I know that Andres asked about that, and I think the last we left it with him was for him to kind of garner support with his troops. You know, for him to kind of set up a little group and try to get that going. Support. And the last one was the 3-foot pass signs. You wanted those along the flats, I assume, right? I think it was.
Well,
Yep, flats right there. So
yeah,
let me do this.
I think,
Any signs have to be approved by our traffic review board. So what I'll do is let me bring this in front of the board. All right. I'll see because
Okay.
the police chief is on it. Public Works is on it. Everybody's on it. You know, there's a lot of membership from all the town staff. is on it.
Would that also include the Sharrow's painting?
No.
One or do we do one or the both? Or
Okay.
Could we do?
Okay,
I
I'm
don't
just
know.
curious.
so.
Let's talk about it now.
So from the research I've been doing, because you know I was the pro Sharrow guy. I'm no longer the pro Sharrow guy. I'm the pro give cyclists 3 feet, because that educates you, and so many people do not know about this law. And I'm on this board now, DOT Vision Zero Education Committee. I made eye contact with the wrong person, and I'm on that board. So, and
That's what happens.
yeah, and we were talking about how even people on that board had no idea of that law.
No, that was a stealth law that passed, I swear. I mean, there was a brief amount of activity around it, and then it just kind of vanished in the public psyche. But I do want to say I am a detractor of Sharrows. I think that Sharrows ultimately annoy people, drivers of automobiles. I think they don't really quite understand them.
Mhm.
Part of the problem in the Farmington Valley is that they're almost all universally painted wrong. They're supposed to be in the travel lane, not on the sides. So that's the first
I thought
problem.
I thought the MUTCD did show them off on the, I think you have a variance in there. I thought that's when we looked at it.
They're supposed to be, so here's the width of the lane.
Mhm.
They're supposed to be in the middle of the width of the lane. So they look like they're a little bit to the right,
Mhm.
but they actually really aren't. But almost
Okay.
everybody, I mean, a great example is Plainville and Simsbury.
Simsbury.
They have them painted in the frickin' gutter.
Yep.
I mean, they're useless.
Mhm.
So, it's so strange to me. And honestly, I'd rather have signs. Now, would they be now here's the thing though, would they be 3-foot signs or would they be share the road signs?
No, so I think the Sharrows were a step up from share the road. I think share the road I think people do not understand that because they just think that you are sharing the lane, which means that they have the right to just squeeze by the cyclist. The 3-foot sign,
I've never seen that happen, Ron.
what?
Never.
It happens.
Never.
No.
It's constant. So,
Ron's seen my Facebook page.
but
So those are garbage.
The 3-foot rule, the key with the 3-foot rule is that it allows people to go over the center line
Yes.
to avoid a cyclist.
And
I'll
people
be
don't-
honest with you guys. I saw some signs when I was in Pennsylvania that said just pass safely with a cyclist on it. And that made a lot of sense to me.
So Pennsylvania has the 4-foot. They're, I think, the only state with the 4-foot passing law.
I was shocked at how good Pennsylvania drivers are about that too, even around Pittsburgh.
Really.
Well,
Hey, Ron.
Pennsylvania, actually, the first 2 years that was enacted, they enforced it. They wrote tickets.
Wow.
Okay,
I got
Jeff,
hit on
you're
my
on.
I got hit on my bike in Erie, Pennsylvania, so I'm not on board with that.
Hey, Ron, with that board you're on, now the state went out big with that a crosswalk law now, with that new crosswalk law. I mean, there's ads on the radio, ads on TV, everywhere you look. Is that something that board can push to possibly have the state do a 3-foot pass
That's a
presentation or do some
Great
advertising?
segue. So Bruce may know this. In New Jersey, there's a social media day. I believe it's every Monday at 12 noon. Every state organization or organization like ours goes to social media and will put their public service announcements. So everyone knows at that time, on that day, there it is, right there. You get the feed, everything. So this committee is looking into doing that in Connecticut, which I think is fabulous. So now you would have a group like Amy Watkins's group, Watch For Me CT, that's what it's called, right? And a
Yep.
couple other groups come up with the advertisement or whatever you want to call it, and pass it around to organizations like Bike Walk, Farmington, but all of them. And so that way it gives it some credibility because you've got, I think I had sent you the email where if you had like an official seal on it, then it's not just Ron Goralski at Bike Walk Farmington, then it's like the state of Connecticut, the police department, the organization I just mentioned, I always forget Amy's, but they are looking into doing that, and the 3-foot, believe me, I'm on this board for that purpose alone. Basically, crosswalk safety and cyclist safety. So that's coming, and I think that'll be an asset for everyone to have those, because education is everything. Education's everything. I was on the bike trail on the holiday, and people were coming up from the river and just crossing the trail. Chaos all over the trail. And it's not because they just don't know the rules. That's the whole thing. not that they're trying to be idiots, they just don't know that there's rhyme and reason to it. So we're also talking about retraining drivers along the way. We need to reach out to those drivers that are between like 30 and 55 that aren't new drivers and aren't senior citizens who are being re-educated. They fall through the loopholes, and a lot of times they don't know these new laws. So yes, I'm glad you brought that up because that's a big issue with this committee. A big project, I should say. Focus. So now that brings us to our little sign on Route 4, 177 crosswalk. The ones I got rid of in Avon. Have we reached out to? I remember getting rid of the cyclist dismount and changing it to cyclists are advised to dismount or whatever, because there's no law saying that they do have to dismount.
Oh, that's why you were bringing this up. Well, yeah, so the crosswalk law, the old crosswalk law stated that if you wanted to be treated as a pedestrian, you had to walk,
Yep, I remember
right?
that.
The
Yep.
new crosswalk law struck that.
Oh, cool.
So you can ride on a crosswalk and in theory be protected as a pedestrian.
You are, yeah.
So, well, no, I say in theory,
Well,
because no one's tested the law yet. Okay, so just so you're aware,
right.
the legislature can say whatever they want.
Let's not be the first one.
Well, right, that's exactly what I'm saying. Yeah, so in other words, there's no tort law in the state that says, this is cut and dried, because it isn't cut and dried right now. So I guess, so here's what needs to happen. This actually isn't something that the police should rule on. This is something that corporation council should rule on.
Hmm.
Our lawyer, the town's lawyer needs to look at that.
Okay.
Okay, because I've got them all taken down in Avon in 4 days.
Yeah, I know.
They realized
I just suspect that they were precipitate in doing that.
it. So the way
So, Ron,
I did it,
Ron, you're admitting you're the person that stole all those signs?
Exactly.
happened in the basement.
You have the right to remain silent.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I've got several interpretations by different lawyers in the state that say you can ride through the crosswalk. There's two.
No, yeah, it doesn't work. Yeah, no, that's exactly correct. Yes. And no policeman in the state is going to stop somebody for riding through a crosswalk now. The issue is not that. The issue is if somebody hits you. That's still not cast in stone.
It was pretty clear to me when I
Right.
read it. and
Right,
when-
but there's no precedent is what he's saying, Ron.
There's no-
Nobody,
Or if you
Yeah.
hit a pedestrian who you're supposed to be sharing the crosswalk with.
Actually, that's an excellent point, Jeff. That's absolutely true. Yes.
So if the biker hits the pedestrian, the biker may be at fault, you're saying?
Well,
no
I
precedent.
would think, if I'm looking at it, I mean, it's a civil thing. It's not gonna be a criminal thing, but yeah, I mean, you got a vehicle, so to speak, and a pedestrian, and they're sharing it. And I think the court would side, and it's just my layman's term. I think they would side. I mean, obviously you'd have to look at the totality of the facts, but it's always going to be, well, he was moving faster than the person walking, and
Yep.
that's what they look at.
well, it's even more cast in stone than that. I mean, it's, over the last 40, 50 years, it's understood across pretty much every state that a bicycle is a car. It's a vehicle.
Yes, because
Pretty
we have to obey the traffic laws.
Exactly right. Yep.
when you're in the roadway, not when you're coming off of a bike trail. Crossing.
Well, but you're coming off of it.
Crosswalk.
You're
But
coming
you're-
off of it.
All right, here's the good thing about this. The good thing is that if you try anybody who's tried walking in cycling cleats knows it's a lot safer to stay on the bike.
Oh, of course.
All right, so it also lessens your time in the roadway because you're there for 2 seconds instead of 5 or 10, depending
Yep.
on how gracefully you cross. And this is all good. So yeah, there's no precedent, but at least it's better than it was. So let's look
Here's
at it
the
that way.
bigger problem. So you've got both of those signs on each side of 177 saying to dismount. You can see those from the road in your car if you're stopped at the crosswalk. I stake out the crosswalk. I'll admit it right now. I will stay there on my free time and watch and see what goes on.
The crosswalk creeper.
No. So
Totally.
what happens is if a cyclist rides across, he is often yelled at by the person in the car saying, "Get the F off your bike." And so there's already a mix up there between, so you've got angry drivers, which we don't need any more of, and you've got cyclists the ones who understand what I think is the law, that they can ride across the crosswalk.
You know,
Okay, so-
I'll be
so-
honest with you, Ron. Most people stop for us even before we push the button now. They're
Are you
really
kidding
good.
me?
They're
So-
really much better than they have been.
So twice this week, I was the first one at the crosswalk. I see Bruce shaking his head. I saw a kid twice. There were 2 kids at the button. Now, one time the kid pushed it, and the other time he didn't. And I'm looking at him like, push the freaking button. But anyway, 3 cars came through. I stopped and I held out my hand, and cars are still going through while the person's actually in the crosswalk. I see it all the time.
I don't disagree with you, but for the most part, I found
Yeah.
people to be really polite. But one thing I will tell both of you guys is when you're at that crosswalk, if you're over by the old sewing place there,
Mhm.
you're behind that. If you're behind that post, they can't see you. They
Both
can't
sides.
see you.
have
Well,
the-
but
Oh,
that
oh,
side particularly, I agree with you,
Yeah,
Matt.
it's-
Yeah, that's right. So anyway, this has nothing to do with whether I agree or disagree with you, Ron. I basically do agree with you. This has more to do with protecting the town legally. That's where I'm coming
And
from.
And if I take this to the lawyers and there's no court cases on this thing, they're going to say, leave them up, is what they're going to tell me. You know?
Really?
They probably will, which is kind of where I'm coming from right now. I mean, again, if there's no body of law, you know, that's going to be, which is why it kind of puzzled me that Avon did that just immediately. I don't know why they did, because a lot of places around the state, they have not taken them down yet.
Okay.
Where, do you
Well, let me
know
check it over.
where those are, or what
Where
towns?
what?
Those other, that there are other signs like that?
Oh, particularly down south, Cheshire, Hamden, parts of New Haven.
They took them off, you said?
No, they kept them.
Oh, they kept them, sorry. I think it's it becomes a safety issue, I think is what it is, you know? And again, I think it's, you guys ride your bikes and you guys are excellent bike riders. Think of the mother and the father and the kids trying to ride his bike. He falls down in the crosswalk, and
That's
probably
why
what
you
it's-
change it to cyclists are encouraged, so you're not
Encouraged.
implying that
Yeah.
they cannot. And then the drivers think they cannot, and that becomes a problem. I'll get it all on video. I will.
Okay, let's keep going.
Yeah,
Right.
we're belaboring this now, but
That's it. We're done. Anybody have anything else to add?
Name change.
All right, I think the next meeting, you guys all have to be in cycling gear, just got off your bike and eating munchies while we're at the meeting.
I was late because I was trying to squeeze a ride in and
Me too.
got a little, so. You guys ever do a meeting where you actually like ride and kind of check out some of the areas that you're talking about?
I can't even get a town council ride together, so maybe.
I mean,
we
I
could do
have,
that.
I have 3 police electric bicycles and we might be able to, you know, for those that want a little extra help.
I think that's a
doesn't-
great idea.
I
a
think it's a
bad
good idea too. I'll strap CJ to the back of my tandem.
And I did have an announcement. I thought about it afterwards. Myself and another officer are going to the International Police Mountain Biking Association Conference in Dayton, Ohio, in a couple of weeks. I'll be doing some course stuff there on bicycle safety and different things like that. And we're going to have another. The other guy that's going with me is also going to come back as an instructor. So we'll have 3 police instructors, which is always good because, as you guys probably know, some of the cops don't know the bicycle laws or have a misinterpretation. And it's nice to have guys that kind of can set them straight a little bit. So,
And
Tyler,
this is just,
right?
There is nothing better than police officers that ride bikes. When you're
Yeah.
dealing with those guys, they're great. And Jeff, don't forget to stop and see the Air Force Museum while you're out there. It's wicked cool.
oh yeah, I've been out there before. I saw it, and I might go there again.
All right, well,
Yes.
when you go there, look at the Dirty 30 in the Vietnam area. My dad's picture's on the wall.
Oh, I'll look for that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Jeff, is it Tyler? He's the other one going? Oh, what is his name? He was at West District for the
Zach Martin is going.
Zach. Yeah, he
Yep.
said he wanted to do some summer programs too with the kids.
Great idea.
Yep. All right, I'll table the name change to add pedestrian to our advisory committee for the next meeting.
that's a council thing. Council's got to change that name, you know? Because the council created this committee, so the only one that could change the name would be
I'll go to the
as
council.
well.
All right.
No, well, no, don't you, but I'm just saying, we can't do it. We just gotta go through the council. I don't want.
Just
Kathy
trying to
told me,
get things
"Which
done,
one?"
man.
Ron's sitting there wanting to change the, you know, if CJ agrees, maybe talk to us, CJ. And through us, the next meeting, we can discuss it. And if that's the case, bring it to the council.
You council meetings, people watching, I'll be there.
All right.
Uncle Sam
else?
wants you. No.
Are we all set, guys?
Yes, very good. Thank you, guys.
All right, we'll adjourn.
you.
Everyone, have a great night.
Good night.
Thank you.